Welcome to this meeting of the Fargo Convention Center Committee. This is our third meeting with a third of three meetings where we're getting presentations on the 9 different proposals we have, which is a lovely number. Thank you all for all of you who have submitted proposals. It's going to be a very hard decision at the end, which means that we got some really good proposals. We'll do quick introductions here of the committee. My name is Charlie Johnson. I'm at Visit Fargo Moorhead. We'll go that way.
Mallory Ackerman, Visit Fargo Moorhead.
Claire Hughes, Clubhouse Hotel and Suites.
Joe Raso, Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC.
Eric Johnson, Assistant City Attorney.
Dave Pepcorn, Fargo City Commission.
Michelle Turnberg, Fargo City Commission.
Taylor Snelling, owner of Mezzaluna.
Kent Kolstad, President at Livewire.
Kate Paulstead, Southeast Education Cooperative.
Emma McIntyre, Folkways Community Nonprofit.
Denise Kolpak, Fargo City Commission.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 presentations, but 2 of them are from the same group, so we'll know when you transition, I assume, between them. I'm going to have this is the Hempel Real Estate, first Hempel Real Estate presentation. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, and do you have anyone online too? Okay, so start with you guys, and then you can introduce them too. Okay, all right.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, hi. This is Rick McKelvey with Hempel. If I could kick it off,
Absolutely.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, hi Rick.
Okay,
Thanks
super.
for participating.
Hi, yeah. Thank you, and thank you to fellow committee members. As I just said, my name is Rick McKelvey with Hempel Real Estate. I'm very sorry that I can't be there live and in person today. I have a dear niece who's getting married tomorrow out of state and have a plane to catch here in a couple hours. And I think if I miss that plane, it may just be the last time you see or hear from me for a long time. So I had to make the tough choice to call into this one, but I appreciate the flexibility and going forward, certainly if we're so fortunate, I will be there in person and we'll coordinate our calendars a little better than we did this go around. So just a little bit about me, and then I'll ask my team members to introduce themselves individually. So I graduated from NDSU 23 years ago and have worked in the field of commercial real estate ever since, focusing almost entirely on mixed-use development. And those projects included several mixed-use developments with a hotel, including what I consider probably the pinnacle of those mixed-use hotel developments being the Four Seasons and RBC Gateway Tower in downtown Minneapolis. Who's ever controlling the screen, perhaps we can go to the team slide here would be great. I think it's page 2. There we go. Thank you very much. So the RBC Gateway and Four Seasons Tower was a 2 million square foot project I completed in 2022. It included, of course, the Four Seasons Hotel, 3 restaurants, a ballroom and convention facilities, 12 floors of office space, and 32 condominiums sitting at the top. So it was a very complicated, vertically oriented mixed use project. This project won't be that complicated, but mixed use has a lot of challenges. And at this stage, one thing I've learned over the years is the most important thing I can do as the development lead is to assemble the best and the brightest and most dedicated team of professionals I can find for a particular project. And while there's a lot of people with great qualifications, the dedication to the outcome is really what I'm looking for. And between Tushy, Montgomery, Stroh, PCL, and First Call, every one of our team members is completely committed to not only meeting every promise we make along the way, but exceeding it. So I'm thrilled to have been able to partner with this group. And it would be great if they would maybe each introduce themselves, perhaps with you first, Amy, if you would. Maybe we'll deal with the folks on the call first, and then Terry and Trent.
Great, thanks, Rick. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Wegman, and I'm an architect with Tushy Montgomery Architects. TMA is a Minneapolis-based firm with over 40 years of experience in a broad range of market sectors, including hospitality and civic projects. I've personally been with TMA for 8 years now, and I'm also a graduate of NDSU and grew up in the great city of Fargo. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share with you guys today our vision for the future Fargo Convention Center. With that, I'll pass it on to Heidi.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Heidi Wilcox. I am with First Call Hospitality. We are a third-party management group based actually and headquartered out of Fargo. We've been in the hospitality space over 35 years. I apologize, I could not be there. I had a meeting this week with franchise partners that precluded that I could not get back in time for this meeting. So I appreciate you hearing our proposal, or proposals. First Call has over 10 hotels that we are currently operating today, but previously we have had extensive experience in the convention center hotel space with the Fargo Holiday Inn up until 2017, as well as other locations, Austin, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. And with that, I will turn it over to Trent.
Well, good afternoon. First off, you can see that I'm going to continue the trend of NDSU graduates. I myself went to construction management at NDSU, and actually a North Dakota native, born in Mayville, lived in Langdon, went to high school in Wahpeton, and then of course went to college in Fargo. So every time I get a chance to come back to the community and work on projects, it's exciting for me. I've been with PCL for about 25 years. I'm now the vice president of their Midwest operations. I am based in Minneapolis. That's where our Midwest operations is based out of. But I'm also responsible for the office that we have right here in Fargo. I have the area manager, Ryan Richardson's in the audience with me today. So we're proud to be part of this team and proud to get this opportunity to give back to the community that gave me so much, where I grew up and went to college. PCL Construction is an international organization, very large commercial contractor. We have offices throughout U.S. and Canada. Our U.S. head office operations is in Denver, and of course I'm based in Minneapolis and responsible for all the Midwest. Deep resume in hospitality and convention space, so I'm excited to be part of this team.
Hi, my name's Terry Stroh. I really like this room. I'm with TL Stroh Architects in Fargo. We've been based in Fargo now for 36 years, so just super excited to be part of anything that the city of Fargo is doing. So.
Super. Thank you, Terry. If we could get the next slide, please. Okay, I'd like to spend a minute just to talk about our site, which I'll call the West Acres site for this presentation, and why we believe it's ideal to achieving the committee's and the city's goals. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but I'll focus on really 5 key reasons. The first is just the site area itself at nearly 18 acres. Not only do we have ample space for the desired program between the convention center, hotel, restaurant, there's room for expansion, and there's also room for out-parcel development opportunities in the range of 4 to 5 acres. And I would love to see a corporate headquarters come in and really take advantage of the value of having a convention center adjacent directly across the parking lot to their headquarters building, and which would make them very efficient in terms of their own building footprint, and form a partnership to utilize the convention center for some of their classroom and training and meeting facilities. So that's spectacular. The visibility to our site is really, really good. I know one of the other proposers took the title of most visible, I think, gateway. So I'm not going to disparage that, but we have a very, very attractive and visible site here. Actually, the point in front of our site on I-29, just to the east of our site, is the most traveled point in all of North Dakota at 76,000 vehicles per day, and really intuitive access from both north and southbound. I-29 enters you right into our West Acres site, and which is going to be great for folks coming in from out of town, from out of state, this will be kind of their first landing place after they drive in the interstate or come in from the airport. When they get off that off ramp, our beautiful project that we are going to create together, we can create together, will be their first introduction to Fargo, and so that's very exciting to us. Number 3 is access, and what I mean by access is not the vehicular access that I just described. It's access to the surrounding area and the amenities. There are over 50 other hotels and over 150 restaurants within a 5-minute drive of our site, and of course ample shopping, most notably with the West Acres Mall in our backyard. So the economic benefit that will be created from the city and the taxpayer investment for the convention center and our private investment for the hotel and restaurant will be very widely dispersed. And I think the economic benefit is going to be a great thing for most everyone in the surrounding area. Number 4 is I titled Community Reinvestment. And 25 years ago, when I was in college, driving up and down I-29 in my 1988 Buick Century, I would look over at I think what I called the Stavers site, probably at the time, or what I thought of, and it looks pretty much the same today as it did back then. And I know I personally look a lot more weathered and tired than I did 25 years ago, and I'm not going to say the site looks worse than it did. I'm not going to make that claim, but let's just say it is ready for reinvestment and redevelopment, and I just couldn't think of a better place to do it. And then last and not least is our opportunity for financing flexibility through the avenue of new market tax credits. So we're very fortunate that this site falls in a new market tax credit tract that is also certified at a low poverty level, or a high poverty level, excuse me. And what we also have working in our favor is, while not being in an opportunity zone, we're directly adjacent to an opportunity zone, and actually in what's called an LMI zone. It's a low to moderate income zone. And the combination of these zones and tracks that we're in is very beneficial to our financing and ultimately the feasibility of the project, because there are many lenders that pursue loans and offering debt at favorable terms in these types of tracks and these types of sites. And, you know, we can all create beautiful visions and renderings and ideas. There's a lot of smart folks working on these proposals and these projects, but the rubber meets the road when it comes to the capitalization of particularly the private investment portion. And that's where the debt that we're able to secure through these tax credit zones is going to be extremely beneficial to our ability to deliver on our collective vision. So I'm very excited about that. Perhaps the next page, please. Next slide, if you would. Okay, here's just a little bit of a close-up on the site proper, and gives you a sense of the density of shops and restaurants and hotels, you know, within a half mile. So we believe that these businesses will receive an immediate boost from redevelopment of this site. Next slide, please. Okay, now we get to the interesting part. I'm going to hand it over to Terry Stroh to help further explain our vision for the site. Terry, if you would.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, super excited to be here. So when we look at this site, it's kind of an unusual shape. The cool thing about it is, so we have 38th Street on the east. Just east of that is I-29 at an elevated level going over the ramp, and so you get this great view of the site and the facility. The south is 17th Avenue, and then we've situated basically a perimeter road all the way around it. So there's multiple ways to get in and get out of the site when you're coming for a convention or leaving the convention. Another thing that's happens to be there is that stormwater retention area that is quite large, and I've done some checking with the fact that we'll be able to utilize that, plus not only share that with West Acres from storing snow in the winter. If you all have been in drive by big parking lots, grocery stores, whatever, and you see lots of parking stalls taken up with snow because it's just too expensive to truck. So we aren't going to be losing any stalls here when that happens. How we've organized the site is the hotel is on the north side. As you see, we have the restaurant facing east. As one thing that we're super concerned and want to make sure that it's got its own entry. It survives without necessarily the hotel and the convention center. So it's got something to the whole community go to and enjoy on a regular basis. We have this facility support area in the kind of center area that connects everything, and you'll see that in the next slide in terms of how that works. A 50,000 square foot ballroom exhibit area, and then the pre-function. The other thing I think that's cool about this is with this site organization, we're able to put pre-function on 3 sides of the exhibit hall. And so if you look at it, there's not very far to get into this building at any point. I mean, so you're not walking a long way at any point because you can access it on all 3 sides. So we feel that's super important. The future parking lot down on the lower left-hand side, right now is a spot that we're not necessarily looking to use. And unless we end up thinking we're going to be doing an expansion to the facility. So you see that dotted area for expansion possibilities. The next slide is kind of how the floor plates lay out. So we actually decided we'd put parking underneath the hotel to kind of have a little elevated hotel experience. I'm assuming they'd charge for that, but always nice in our environment to be able to get inside. On the first floor, you got the first floor hotel on the north side. We have a spot for amenities, so whether it's pool, spa, athletic training, gym area. Rick's picture is impeding a little bit of of what I want to explain, but so we have a restaurant. You see the restaurant 600, and there's a corridor that runs from then the hotel kind of through the restaurant vestibule, so to speak, and right into the pre-function space. You see the kitchen is located to not only take care of the restaurant, but also take care of the exhibit hall. And it also has a direct access to the pre-function. So, lots of pre-function things that we can do, bar tables and things like that you would be able to serve food out there without going through the exhibit hall and be able to get straight to that. Again, then loading and storage in the back for switching out things. Our second floor, down on the lower left-hand side is, again, hotel on the north. We're looking at probably putting some hotel meeting rooms in that space towards the east. We'll have some also smaller meeting rooms going towards the exhibit or the pre-function space. There's a corridor in between those from the second floor that gets to basically overlooking the pre-function space. The pre-function space is a 2-story space. And so we just did some real basic stuff to show stairs and an elevator, but we'd probably have some kind of a grand staircase and a fun way to get down to the exhibit area. And then we have offices for the convention and hotel on that floor facing to the west. We give them the worst view. And then, of course, on the right side, lower right, is basically the 3 through 6 floors of hotel rooms. This is a aerial view from the southeast. So you can see that plaza area outside of our front entry is unique. It's fun. It would allow exterior exhibition space. So say if you were, having a ag equipment kind of a convention, they could put things out there in it. It'd be a great place to go take a phone call on a couple, 3 days in North Dakota. You get to go outside. But, and we're also looking at, if you look at the, to the right of that, going towards the restaurant, we're looking at possible outdoor seating for the restaurant. And we have quite a bit of space to do that. And the other thing that we're doing is obviously have a covered drive up for the hotel, but we're also doing one to get into the convention space as well. So and that's on the south side, you see. You can see the addition off to the upper left-hand side is kind of ghosted in where we would plan on doing that addition. This is another view from the southwest, give you a little better shot of how that addition works. It literally is just extruding our building over. We end up with roughly 30,000 square feet of new exhibit space with about 6,000 square feet of pre-function. So again, and then what happens there is, so we displace about 100 cars doing that. There's about 257 stalls in that pre-function or that parking for future expansion area. And so we would, move those 100 stalls that we take up, and we'd have another 150 stalls additional for the additional square footage. So it really, really works well. The ins and outs, the access points, just really fits well on the site. It was super fun to just come up with something preliminary like this, but it's just a great spot for the convention center. We're at the question and answer period.
And it is. Thank you, Terry. Before we get into the question and answer, I just wanted to say that I hope the care and attention is evident that we've given to not only site selection, team assembly, and concept design. I always like to say the only thing that I can guarantee is that the concept design will change before it's all said and done. But we have a really excellent starting point and base design to go from. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention, as I'm sure you noticed in the introductions, every member of our team, including many that are back in the office and not part of this presentation, have lived at least 4 years of their life in Fargo, North Dakota. Some were born and raised there and moved out. Some were born and raised elsewhere and moved in. And then there's a couple like myself and Trent who moved in for college and went elsewhere. But what I think that does is gives us a very unique perspective, kind of from an insider and outsider perspective of what makes Fargo special, a special place. And it also gives us a lot of good relationships, but not too many in-depth partnerships or ties that is going to lock us into any certain way of thinking. We can do and focus on what's going to be best for our collective partnership and development. And so I'm really excited about that. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, I'll start off. Can you give me a better idea of what kind of breakout, you mentioned some smaller meeting rooms, and I wasn't quite clear on where those would be and how much square footage you would have in those.
Don't forget to turn on your mic, please. Thanks.
So on the lower left, you'll see we have about 4,900 square feet of meeting rooms. That's right above the smaller meeting rooms, right above the restaurant. And then we have another 3,500, actually a little more than that, in the hotel space. on the second floor as well. And then we do have the possibility of actually doing some on the first floor if we really wanted to, but again, conceptually, right now, that's where we said we could do a lot of different things. So we could take the space that is now administration and just put that on the first floor of the hotel and get another 3,200 square feet.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for clarifying that. So you got, between 7,000 and 8,000 square feet.
Yep.
In this vision.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I ask a question about the land? The land cost, will that be part of the project, or if you could talk a little bit about that? And also, I want to thank you for having the expansion already planned ahead. And what Charlie talked about, small meeting rooms, do you think would be small meeting rooms be added in the future as well too? Or can you talk a little bit about that?
That's pretty broad question in terms of, we could easily do that, Dave. So yeah, for sure. That would be a program thing that would be driven by you guys, I think. So. And Rick, if you want to answer that.
And thank you for the question regarding the land. The land, of course, has a value to it, and we expect when we move to phase 2, hopefully move to phase 2 and dive into the deeper economic modeling, that we will show you a cost allocation of the land value between the convention center and the hotel and the restaurant, and the out parcel will hold some value, residual value, so that the land will be part of the total development cost, most certainly.
Okay. Emma, you, and then I think Joe will have a question.
Yeah. Can you just share a little bit more about your management model that you expect for the convention center versus the hotel?
Yeah, Heidi, do you want to touch on that one?
So you're speaking of the management model for the convention space, correct?
Yes, yeah, booking, management, facilities.
Yes, so we would empower a system, a portal that we have used in prior convention space organizations to assist with making sure that bookings are tracked, convention space, so forth, because obviously conventions are not booked in the near term, they're booked in long term. And so, you need to have a system that's 3 or 4 years out. We also would employ, looking at the space, at least a team of 6 is what I would expect to ensure that we have sales, operations, food and beverage handled, and of course then staffing from there. It is important that we assemble a team who has the skill set, not only on the operations side or the food and beverage side, but I think sales becomes very critical to this project. Having been in the Fargo space before, knowing and being a part of the community is a necessity, but we also have to be aware of our region and knowing what conventions are taking place, from the Minneapolis market all the way west, even to Spokane. So we, in my experience, have had to employ a very, very seasoned sales force to ensure that we are capable of facilitating space occupancy and hopefully cash flow.
Really quick follow-up question before Joe. I'm so sorry. I saw that the kitchen for the convention center is attached onto the back of the restaurant. Is that something where you envision the restaurant is operating food and beverage? Would you guys allow outside vendors for food and beverage for conventions?
Well, that's a very, very good question. One that remains to be determined exactly how that will function, but we see a lot of advantage in being able to share kitchens, at least some components of the kitchen, whether it be dishwashing, some cooking lines. So there will likely be a division within the combined kitchen for the restaurant proper and the convention center proper. But there are some shared advantages. So I would expect that we would invite outside entities to operate the convention center portion of the kitchen, but those are some details that we would definitely look forward to ironing out in the coming months.
Sweet. Thank you.
Joe?
Can you go to the site plan? Just have a finance question in a space. I'm guessing that southeast quadrant right there is just outlot development, future outlot development. Is that correct? So
Yeah,
is
so
it? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, we do not own the southeast quadrant. In fact, I'm pretty familiar with the group that does, and there may be an opportunity to partner with them on development of that parcel, but that is currently not part of our development site.
Are you looking at a financial partnership with the city outside of the convention center for hotel, restaurant, and any other outlot developments?
For the hotel and restaurant, it's very possible. I can't say with certainty yes or no today. I don't know that anyone could until we dive into either the full feasibility and underwriting analysis. But hotels and restaurants are speculative developments. I mean, of course, we know we're going to get some amount of customers that are going to pay some amount of room night rate. But because of the speculative nature, unlike a single tenant user of a medical building or something, they sometimes need TIF or other subsidies to make them work, at least to make the building as great as we all want it to be. So I would just have to leave that open-ended at this point, and in full transparency, evaluate the options and economics with the city as a partner and make the best collective decision.
Thanks. One last thing on financing, Rick. You mentioned new market tax credits. Do you have those locked up?
No. I mean, it's too early for that. I mean, we'd like to get to phase 2 before we start getting too excited about much of anything else.
Okay, we could take maybe one or two more questions on this one, and if not, if we don't have any more questions, we could probably let you guys, if you don't need a break, we can roll right into your second proposal. Any other questions, committee? No? Okay. Oh,
One quick question. Can you just share a little bit more about the design of the space and how you're thinking of it as a visual representation of Fargo and North Dakota?
I don't think we've gotten that far yet.
Yeah, it is pretty early. So,
I know there's been a lot of really cool projects shared so far.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of an interesting thing in Fargo. Or in the Midwest, or upper Midwest where we're at, a lot of times we're not able to do as splashy of buildings as a lot of places can. And so we're going to do that the best as we can, just like we did here at City Hall. We did the best we can with the dollars we were given, and we think we did a pretty darn good job. And that's the thing that I think we offer as part of the local team is a knowledge of what works here in Fargo, and actually even looking at design concepts that reflect what Fargo is. So
okay, you guys want to move on to your
so we just
plan
need
B?
Brian to bring up the next. Do I have to do something, Brian, or he's going to do it?
Okay, so our other side, I wouldn't call it a plan B. I think I'd call it an A1, if not double A, because I think they're both great sites and great opportunities to partner with the city. This one at 901 40th Street in Fargo, just about a half mile north of the West Acres site that we just discussed. If okay with you, Charlie and committee, I think I'll skip all the introductions this time around.
Sure.
Just gonna dive right into.
Yeah, unless you have, if there's someone else different, are there any different people on the team?
No, it's the same, same exceptional team.
That's great. We remember. Go ahead.
Good. I have no doubt. Thank you. So a few nuances to this site that makes it different in a good way, we think, from the other site is But it has a lot of the same advantages. Perhaps you go back to the previous slide. This site is a little bit smaller at just under 12 acres. It is adequate for all of the programming requirement. It's adequate for an expansion space. It does not offer additional development parcels like the other perhaps does. It also has extraordinary visibility and traffic, albeit not directly on the I-29 frontage. Our 6-story hotel will be quite visible from I-29 and also from 13th Avenue, particularly at the intersections of 40th and 42nd on 13th. And if you recall, the previous slide has 76,000 vehicles per day. This one, just a few blocks north, is 67,000. So there's a lot of folks that get off on 13th Avenue. Apparently, 9,000 a day get off those exits. As I thought that was an interesting point to identify. But the visibility of this site and same accessibility is really excellent for the incoming visitor from out of town, from out of state. The access has the same hotel grouping, restaurants, and many of the hotels at this site are actually closer with it just walking across the street. So that will be a nice lift economically to distribute that to the immediate surrounding area. This site also has been largely unchanged for the last few decades. There's been a few different uses in this building, and it's currently sitting vacant. We do think, and I consider this site kind of a traditional urban infill site, where the other is more of a commercial redevelopment site. This one has housing directly adjacent and commercial uses, and I think redevelopment of this site would be a great lift. And an urban renewal is a term we sometimes use to kind of bring that investment directly into the heart of an immediate community and see some change. And our added green space and parkland that we're going to develop into our site plan will be a benefit for everyone, from those that live right across the street to those that come from a mile away or hundreds of miles away if they're coming in for a convention. And then last, and I won't repeat this, but it's in the same new market tax credits and zones and LMI zone as the other sites. So the financing flexibility and opportunities apply to this site as well. So here's another close-up of the site and the very densely populated hotels there immediately to the east, as well as several restaurant and shopping opportunities. So the economic wealth distribution from both the city's investment and our private investment will be felt, we believe, in a very positive way by all the surrounding businesses and hopefully homeowners as well. Will increase some of those values potentially. Next slide, please. Okay, so this particular plan, Amy and her team at Tushy focused on primarily, and Terry and his team was on the other site. So I think, Amy, if you would give us the highlights of our vision for this layout.
Thanks, Rick. So when we started to look at this area, one of the things we identified was a need for more meaningful public green space. And while surface parking remains the most cost-effective strategy to meet parking demand, we've been really intentional in balancing pavement with green space, including a large programmable plaza adjacent to the convention center, 2 pockets of public green space at the northeast and southeast corners, and a strong datum running north to south that would guide pedestrian movement across the site and promote connectivity to nearby destinations like West Acres. Our approach is to incorporate experiential site elements, such as wayfinding that's integrated into the landscape, smart rainwater management, and native vegetation. And looking to the future, we've also designated space on the northwest corner of the site to accommodate future expansion of the convention center. Next slide, please. At the schematic level, we've taken the program elements outlined in the RFP and shaped a concept driven by user experience and operational efficiency. We're proposing a 110 square foot convention center anchored by a 50,000 square foot ballroom and a 172-key hotel. The convention center's exhibit hall would be surrounded on 3 sides by a generous pre-function space that would extend seamlessly into the outdoor plaza. A restaurant would serve as the connective tissue between hotel and convention center, with an internal corridor to streamline guest movement. Supporting this would be approximately 560 parking stalls designed as a mix of below-grade and surface spaces to maximize efficiency and land use. Operationally, shared back-of-house utilities would allow the restaurant and convention center to benefit from a common kitchen and storage area, keeping costs down and operations smart. Next slide, please. Lastly, I'll touch on the architectural design. Our team feels strongly that the project must embody Fargo in material and form. Should the team move on to the next round, we're committed to working closely with the city and our partner, Stroh Architects, to define and reflect that identity, whether through references to historical landmarks, locally sourced materials, or regional architectural styles. We aim to create a design language that feels authentic, rooted, and inspiring. And with that, I'll turn it back to Rick and open it up for any questions. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Amy. So I won't repeat what I said last time, but again, we hope is evident of another great site opportunity that the city has a wealth of options here. So you're in an enviable position. And I think both of our sites lay out for the program requirements exceptionally well. And I would, if you have a preference, I would love for you to choose one. If you like them both, we could move forward with them both. If you like neither, that's okay too. We can move on with life. But we sure hope you like what we are offering, and look forward to your feedback.
Okay, questions about this version? Did I see, it was a little hard for me to see the print, so it looked like more breakout space in this one. Did I see 6,000 and 3,000? Okay, thank you. Plus
That's
5,000.
correct. There'd be about 9,000 square feet of meeting rooms on this plan.
Oh yeah, I see it. Okay, thank you. And how many rooms in the hotel? Also 200 like the other one? 172?
We're currently proposing 172 with this plan.
Okay. Okay, other questions? Commissioner?
I have a question. So there's a current building there now. So none of that current building would be reused. Basically, the site would be cleared, and this would be all totally new construction. All right.
That's correct.
Other questions? Emma?
Can you share a little bit about congestion coming out of this space? It's near a residential area, kind of how you guys thought about that in regards to parking and vehicles.
Sure. Well, anytime you have 500 to 700 vehicles potentially showing up in a small window is going to need a specific traffic management plan. 42nd Street is a fairly significant thoroughfare being signaled down at 13th Avenue. So we see that as the primary exit. But as you can see here, you can get out going both north and south. And will be something that if it becomes a traffic problem, probably like any of your proposals with something of this nature may require traffic management by way of the Fargo PD. We have had to do that at the Four Seasons on very busy days in downtown Minneapolis. But in most cases, folks, it kind of self-regulates itself, and folks just don't choose to leave when the parking lot is at its busiest time, and it kind of averages itself out. But something we'll definitely have to pay close attention to.
Could you?
Other questions?
Yeah, Charlie, real quick. The expansion opportunity, what's the size of that? And then how do you address the parking that's lost?
Yeah,
I
Amy,
believe that dashed area. That
dashed
dashed area is around 30,000 square feet. And Rick, perhaps you want to address the parking more so.
Sure. Well, the parking is always more art than science. I mean, we're projecting here what we think is sufficient parking. if not more than sufficient. We're going to all learn as we go how much parking is truly needed. And if there is, if we need additional parking beyond this, there are sites adjacent. You can see site 902 across the street. There's one to the north across 9th Avenue that's actually currently being used as overflow parking. We don't have agreements or long-term agreements with those folks. But parking is an equation we'd need to solve in the future. There's no question. We just can't predict that at this point.
Does this hotel also envision some underground parking like the other one did? Same number, like 50 some? Okay.
84 here, yep.
84, okay.
I don't know if this is something your team has thought of with this specific concept, but maybe future development in the area, if there's something that comes to mind. I know the other site had potential with open space next door, but with this one, we're pretty clear on what's currently surrounding it.
Well, there is a development site immediately to the south. It's not part of our site control or our purchase agreement, so we can't report to be able to promise development across the street. But any time you're going to get thousands of visitors to a new location where they haven't been previously, development is almost certainly certainly going to happen. So we just have to find opportunities directly adjacent. And I think there is a few of them that are there, but we can't promise that outcome today as we can on the other site, which is under our purchase agreement control.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a few minutes. Thanks for joining us, Mayor. I didn't see you come in. All right. Well, hearing no more questions, we thank you, folks, for giving us two obviously interesting projects to chew on among the other 7 as well. So thanks for coming and being with us, and we'll take a little break here before we bring the next group up. Thank you guys for participating.
Thanks
We appreciate
so much.
the interest. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Rick.
Look forward to your feedback.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Yeah. All right. It's 2:00. Let's move ahead with our last presentation of 9. We drew it out of a hat. It's just kind of the way it worked out. But we're glad you are here with us, and we have time to hear from you. So. Who wants to start and introduce your team, or you can introduce yourselves? You going to start?
Yep.
Tanner? Okay,
That would be
take
me.
it away.
Yeah, thank you all for having us. My name is Tanner Brandt. Myself and Chris Mack are here with Christensen Companies. I'll also introduce the rest of our team here. For the venue management side, we have Toby Peters. Our architects, Michael Winters and John Sabinash. And for financials and strategic planning, we have our own Charlie Johnson on this side. And we are proud to present to you the Fargo Lakeside Convention Center. As you can see here, this is located at the southwest corner of 52nd Avenue and 45th Street. But before I get into more of the site, I'd like to introduce Christensen Companies. Us as a company, formerly Pace's Lodging. We were originally formed in 1993 to manage and build hotels in Fargo and then also across the country. Since then, we've expanded into all other asset classes. So most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with some of the projects we've done around Fargo. 4,800 units multifamily, 1,700 storage units, 4.1 million of the commercial space, and residential. And we're working on $160 million in new construction at the moment. So going into the hotel portion of it, as I mentioned, Christensen Company started out 32 years ago as a hotel builder, developer. We have a lot of experience in this. We currently own and operate 5 hotels in North Dakota. So for the hotel portion of it, we plan to own and operate an AC hotel by Marriott. We have discussed this with Marriott. We have an agreement that they will put their flag here. So we're excited to we have the experience where we can successfully own and operate this that will be attached to the convention center. Just going into the site here, this is a view looking to the southeast. This is 52nd Avenue, like I said, 45th Street. You've got full access, direct full access off 52nd and 45th Street, two of the largest roads, most accessible roads in Fargo, and they can both get you directly to I-29 and I-94. So this is our site looking from the east to the west. You can see in the foreground there the Timber Creek Live Entertainment District, Sweet Shots, Kingpins, and the Spring Hill Suites Marriott that we built. So you can see there's a lot, and I'll move into the nearby amenities as well. There's a lot of things that we've done and other retail around. So we think that this convention center would really be great for these surrounding businesses and also help with the expansion and development into the south with the Fargo Diversion project coming up. So with that, I will pass this on to our architect, Mike Winters.
Good afternoon. Congratulations, you made it through 8, I guess, 8.5 now. My name is Michael Winters. I'm the team's convention center design expert. Over my career, I've had the pleasure to have designed over 36 different convention centers across the United States. And recently I teamed with John Sabinash with Zimmerman Architects, and we developed successfully the Fox Cities Convention Center. So what I want to do now is just tell you a little bit about how I approach design. All of my designs, all of my convention center designs are completely different. I don't bring a unique standard style to a convention center. They're all rooted in the culture and the history and the environment of the place that they're put in. So each and every convention center has a sense of place to it. And it's something that's really important because over the years, as this industry has advanced, these buildings were originally just generic boxes with docks. Now they've become something that has to be an important civic addition to your city. And the people who come to these centers want to bring away a memory of the place. So at Fox Cities, we did research into the history of the place, and we found out that on the Fox River, the first hydroelectric plant in the world was built on the Fox River. So we created, and it was actually opened in 1882. So that little tower you see on the building here is 82 feet tall to honor 1882, and then we electrified it, going back to the history of the place. In addition, the Fox River had multiple locks that went down on the river, so we transitioned the building down into the city park. In Palm Springs, obviously, it was a different environment. The building was response to the physical environment. We had this incredible San Jacinto mountain range just blocks away from the convention center, so I created an image of the building that fit into the natural environment of its place. In Miami Beach, again, natural environment inspired, obviously the ocean and the ocean waves, and that carries through the entire building design. Santa Fe, very unique architectural theme in Santa Fe. So this building blends in and fits in with the architecture of the city, and then carry that whole experience into the interior design of the building as well. So now I want to talk a little bit about Fargo and your site, or our site. Our site that Christensen has is just under 300 acres, so it's a blank canvas. We have this great amenity to the west of our site, Lake Fargo. So we're calling this the Fargo Convention Center on Lakeside at Lake Fargo. But this potential site has incredible expansion capabilities. We want to integrate our site with and bring the amenity of the lake into the site as part of the development concept. So what we're showing here is a phase 1 development. The reddish building on the upper left portion of the site is the convention center and parking. And then to the east is the potential development of the entertainment district of the site. And then this slide features the full build out of phase 2 for the whole 300 acres. This just shows a potential 3-dimensional view and how the convention center is fronted on the lakefront and how outdoor event space can engage with the lake. Now I want to talk a little bit about the functional plan of the building. And usually I like to meet with your potential meeting planners and your users of the building to customize the plan to exactly fit the potential users that are going to come and use the building. But there are some pieces of this that I really like to incorporate into the diagram. And one is adequate parking. You see that at the top of the screen here, a dedicated drop-off for the building, and an independent registration zone that's separate from the pre-function zone. And I think that's really important because when you have registration going on at the entry to the building, it's very chaotic, and you don't want that intermixing with your pre-function space of the overall event space. So those are totally separated. This is a one-story design. That way we can eliminate stairs and elevators and escalators. And the other thing I think that's really important, and I do in this diagram, is every meeting space, the meeting rooms and the event and ballroom and exhibit space are connected to the kitchen and the back of the house through dedicated service corridors. If you go into a second level, then you have to have service elevators to bring stuff up from the kitchen, and you don't really want to bring that stuff through public space. You want to bring it through dedicated back of house space. You can see that there's adequate space for a phase 2 expansion to the south. This shows a full phase 2 expansion build out, and what I want to point out here is the ability to have 2 simultaneous events in the center at one time. By having a dedicated drop-off on both the, let's say, the top side of the building and the bottom end of the diagram here, you can have 2 separate events happening, 2 separate registrations happening. They can have their own dedicated meeting room spaces and their own event spaces. So they never really intermingle and intermix. It's really important when you have a larger convention facility. And then something I really kind of hate to do is talk about the visual aspect, but because we're competing against 8 other teams here, us architects all tend to want to show you what we can do. I like to really engage with you as our client and collaborate with you to develop a design concept, but we're going to do this today. And one of the things, just from a thought process and looking at the history here with the importance of the Union Pacific Railroad and the Red River, the little photo you see on the bottom of the page, the railroad and the river interengaging together in a trestle bridge, was thought was maybe a seed to an idea that we can incorporate into the structure of the convention center and start that Fargo sense of place. So just a couple images from that. Okay.
Sorry about that. My name's Toby Peters. I'm the Chief Development Officer with VenueWorks. At VenueWorks, we're a full-service venue management company, and our mission is to maximize the presentation of successful events and client facilities for the cultural, recreational, educational, and economic impact of the communities we serve. That means partnerships. That means working with the people in the community, working with the vendors in the community, making sure that there's a sense of local place at the venue in every aspect that we do. And as an employee-owned company, the employees that you meet at the venue are actually part owners of the company. We're the only employee-owned national venue management company, and we really take that to heart. We find that it empowers our employees to do their very best because they don't only want to see the venue be successful, they want to see every aspect of it be successful, down to every interaction they have with patrons, making sure that events are planned successfully, making sure that every aspect of the services go seamlessly to create a wonderful experience for the people that are attending the events and for those who are planning the events. Our services cover all aspects, including finance, administration, operations, programming, sales, marketing, and ticketing, if there were to be an event that we'd want to have ticketed at this facility, as well as food and beverage. We make sure that all of these services are able to happen, even if the people that normally do those services at a venue are gone. So we'll often have our chef running from one venue to another venue to another venue because I guess people like to go on vacation sometimes. We make sure that all of these aspects are supported by our corporate team, making sure that everybody has been properly trained, making sure that all finances are completely transparent with the city. We will give you guys a full report of what's taking place anytime it's requested, but also providing you with ongoing reports that are monthly and annual to give you guys a sense of understanding, but also be able to answer any questions you have. We see it as a city property, therefore the city should know what is taking place at the venue at all times. Venues we manage really span throughout the entire country. All those blue dots that you see on this map are our convention center locations. And we are actually based in Ames, Iowa, so we do have a very Midwest approach to doing things. We are national, but we really find ourselves focused on the local and making sure that not only are we involved with the communities, but also that the staff that are at our venues, that we know those staff personally and that those staff feel the greater sense of having a voice and can communicate with our team. And we also allow ongoing communication, not just with our corporate staff, but between our venues, making sure that they can share great ideas, great events they have booked. Sometimes it's we've worked with a hot tub show before where one person says, I've got this guy that keeps coming by with these hot tub shows and it's great. And next thing we know, we're working with this hot tub guy in all of these venues, and he'll come in, do the show, and then he'll call us, hey, I've got this weekend open. What do you have available? And that's the way that we're able to work as a company with all these accounts together and create a unified approach to everything. So some of the comparable venues we manage are the Chesapeake Conference Center in Chesapeake, Virginia, 39,000 square feet. The River Center Convention Center in Davenport, Iowa at 100,000 square feet. We just acquired the Old National Events Plaza, which is a convention center and theater, 95,000 square feet in Evansville, Indiana. The Three Rivers Convention Center, which we actually worked long ago with Charlie's group on, and we're currently working on expansion. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. Currently at 75,000 square feet. The Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa, Iowa at 92,000 square feet. The Paducah McCracken County Convention and Expo Center in Paducah, Kentucky, 110,000 square feet. And the Vicksburg Convention Center in Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is 50,000 square feet. We manage other venues as well, but we see these as the most comparable to the project at hand. So some comparable projects we know. You might be familiar with this one. So up the road a little bit, years ago, we worked with the city of Grand Forks, and then some water started rising, and we kind of had to take a break for a while, and then we got back into working with them again. And to partner with that city from before and after, we really got to know the community. We really got to understand what was going on in the community. And so throughout the designing process, the planning process, we worked with them in the pre-opening, establishing naming rights, marketing the venue to potential newcomers that be coming and getting the city excited for the venue, and as well as the university for when it opened, and also identifying all the proper equipment specifications that would be necessary. As a venue manager, we managed the venue for, we did 3 contract renewals with them until the city decided to take management in-house. We booked major concerts, including Cher. We worked with the CVB constantly in establishing different schedules, bringing different events to town, and we actually created the Crop Expo event that has been able to fill the entire venue, including the entire stadium floor. And then currently we're in the process of expanding the Three Rivers Convention Center in Kennewick, Washington. This venue has allowed itself for easy expansion, and it was kind of something that we talked about as we were determining the layout for this facility. What are aspects of this Three Rivers Convention Center that have allowed it to so easily expand and grow? And Charlie will talk more about that soon, but this venue is going to be growing now to accommodate 115,000 square feet addition. It'll have a 60,000 square foot exhibit hall, more meeting space, as well as a new hotel that will be connected to it. It's going to have an economic impact of $130.8 million, $6.9 million in tax revenues, 200,000 annual attendees are anticipated, and this venue is being built at a cost of $70.3 million. And because this is an active venue, we've been able to really learn a lot from what we're, for this group, that we've been able to learn in the process of this facility in Kennewick. I'm going to pass it on to Charlie now.
Thank you very much. My name is Charlie Johnson, and I'm president of Johnson Consulting. I have been in the convention center industry for 42 years, and I've also parallel with hotels, arenas, and stadiums for that period of time. Actually, Toby and his firm came in after I started working on Tri-Cities, and I think my job is to support the team. In a big overall, Christensen is a service provider to the city, and the city and the community are going to be the owner. So they're going to build, operate, and transfer the convention center, and they have to have the capability to do that. But you as owners also have risks that you have to take. And my job has really been helping them devise the plan that really minimizes the city's risk. And the risk that you guys can face is budget, hotel, marketing, DMO responsibilities, and operating deficit. So those are the things that I've thought about as we've helped put the business plan together. One of the points that we're going to make is illustrating that it's going to be difficult for you all to achieve your program given the budget that you've identified. And so the model that we're suggesting is very similar to what happened in Tri-Cities because they suffered from the same problem. So they entered the market with something that's exactly to the same size as the phase one that Mike presented, a 25,000 square foot expo hall and about 12,000 square feet of meeting space. And to illustrate what that means, HVS's study is larger. It has 50,000 square feet. I just went through Tri-Cities. We can accomplish 94% of the events that were projected by HVS in the size building that we're going to show. So that's an important thing to remember. If you remember that $70 million and 115,000, that's $590 a square feet. And these are that's not the price anymore. They're higher than that. So as you all start looking at the plans and see the 50,000 square foot options and things of that nature, what we've provided is something that's affordable within the budget that you have. All right, and that's a very important thing as we go to the next slide, which I control. The picture here is Overland Park Convention Center. I worked on that for 25 years. They went through a whole host of fits and starts. And then they had a developer come in, and we helped oversee that development. Very proud of the facility. I think it evokes a spirit of Overland Park, a very aggressive and progressive city. Their soccer complexes are top in the nation, and they wanted something that made them have a good spirit. So as we looked at your building, we want to get as close to something that operates in this model that you do. You're all right now fixing and working on your airport. We say that the airport is your landing, your welcome mat. And this convention center is your city's living room. And so when you have that, you want to have the most positive image that you can have for your community. And that's what Overland Park did. If you go into the building, I think some of you have actually visited it, has the most beautiful art that really evokes what that community is about. So our job was really to illustrate that because they have so much land, the funding options are going to be a lot more flexible, and they have a lot more options on the retail side as well as the overall land. The TIF capacity and things of that nature, I think, will reduce the risk of funding. The other thing that's very unique here is their experience with hotels, and AC is a top brand, and by that it matches what you would want to accomplish in the quality level that you have for the convention center. And their experience with hotels, I've worked with several development groups that have tried to build these projects, and when they get to the hotel, it fails. All right, and that's happened on 3 different projects where the hotel component has failed, and that's really been sent everybody back to the starting block. So that's something I wanted to make sure that the plan addresses that as well. And on the next slide, We're working in Sioux Falls now, which is probably of interest to you all. And, they have what I would characterize the equivalent of either the Fargo Dome or the arena that is being looked at as one of the options. That's what Sioux Falls is going to decommission this as a convention center and build a new one. So as you look at this from the long horizon, what is this facility going to look like? This facility has, not only can they do to the original program, this land has even more capacity for further expansion. And I think that's a consideration. We didn't think about that. We thought about it very hard for Tri-Cities, and they were easy to go right into their expansion. And one of the funding models we want to have, since we may not be able to afford the full program, we think it's crucial to be able to expand immediately. So once the funding sources prove up, we'll be able to move right into to get to the full program. So it's creative financing. This is in Tucson. What this is a 2-mile TIF district, sales tax. All right, and I know that you all had a failed initiative for sales tax, but that was citywide. Is there another alternative that we could consider? This has been, the reason this was formed was for funding the convention center in Tucson. And the robustness of this increment, because that big square in the middle was an old General Growth mall, and it was failed. So when it came back up, all that increment went to the project. And so that's made that convention center, now they've got 3 hotels around it. The convention center itself is first class with the arena and stadium integrated. And it has been a funding tool that's been a very clever and successful tool. So with that, Tanner, turn it back over to you.
So the entire 296-acre piece here is going to be called the Farmstead, and just wanted to show that this is the future growth, and these are the benefits that we have of this large piece of land. There's room for expansion from phase 1 to phase 2 and beyond. We have an abundance of space for free parking, not to mention access. It's very useful and helpful. And entertainment district possibilities for retail, restaurants, anything that we can come up with that will work together with the convention center and the convention center guests. Hotel component where we have the experience and minimize risk for the city, and the ability to adapt and expand. Convention centers typically in 10 to 15 years need to either be renovated, remodeled, or expanded upon. So we have that ready to go with $300 to $400 million of taxable development that can help pay for that as we go forward. So key differentiators are the expansion that we can, phase 1 and phase 2, the value of the surrounding development that can help pay for these things, and the reduction of risk for the city. So this is the Fargo Lakeside Convention Center, and we hope that the future gathers here. Thank you.
Okay, let's open it up to questions. Commissioner?
So my question is, you were talking about that is that the average for most convention centers every 15 years? That's kind of is that how it goes? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think I mentioned that to you a little bit earlier. My experience has been that when a convention center first gets built, there's a period of time where you're in the market that it's been designed to. So the HVS market study, it defines a market. As the years go by, that market tends to change. And about 10 to 15 years into it, most centers see either the need to renovate themselves or expand themselves to compete with the markets that sometimes the users that come to these buildings outgrow the building and then they go somewhere else. And you don't want to do that. Once you get a client, you want to keep them here and accommodate their needs. So that's just an experience piece that I've witnessed, and involved in that time period is obviously the politics and the funding sources of how to do that.
So if you go back to the sort of the original layout, right? Yeah, right here. So just for clarity, it looks like what you're suggesting is based on the resources that are available, about 40 million, and based on the work that you're talking about in terms of the ability to support what this market seems to be able to support, your proposal is two-phased because 40 million isn't going to get you 50,000 square feet plus the meeting space plus all these other components. Is that really what is being put in front of us?
I want to try to answer that. I'm glad you asked that question because we knew it would come up. I think that we haven't been asked, this is phase one, which is really supposed to be quals and site selection. Phase two is design and cost. I think, and I'll be just brutally honest here, that when the other teams get into phase two, they're going to have a cost issue. And if you could pull up the slide, I prepared this slide, and it's a very simple math equation, and the experienced convention center architects know this, but your budget is 37 to 41 million based upon the hotel tax, the lodger's tax that you got passed. You don't have any more money than that. If we discover that we can build phase one and phase two in our next phase, we'll do it. But I'm going to walk you through this calculation because it's a very simple math calculation. So when I do a convention center, I take the net rentable space, which is your ballroom exhibit space and your meeting space, which in your RFP is 58,800 net square feet. I put a gross up factor on that based upon our historical data of 36 convention centers, and that's usually between 2.3, 2.4. HVAS actually used 2.3 in their study. So if you take that net rentable and you multiply it by 2.3, you get 135,000 square foot. That's what everybody else is showing you, that full RFP square footage. You're not going to be able to afford 135,000 square feet at $40 million. If you put a $500 a square foot cost to that, which is, in my opinion, low at this point, you're going to be at $67 million. If you look at what we did in phase one, which is the next calculation there, and this is what we put in our RFP, 27,000 square feet of net square foot, which can be a flexible ballroom exhibit space, which we've done multiple times. In fact, we did that in Pasadena and Palm Springs. And then you add whatever meeting space we can do. We can add in additional meeting space. But let's say the net square footage is 31.4. You put the multiplier to it, it's 72.2. In our RFP, we presented 73.5. If you put $500 a square foot to that, you're at your bottom of your budget, $37 million. So we feel we can definitely provide you phase one within your budget, which accomplishes, as Charlie's office verified, 94% of the HVS market study. We still have the ability to expand if more. Tanner is in the process of looking at a grant, for a matchable grant for $5 million. That can help if some of the development and the TIF money becomes available, which would expand the capability. Maybe you can get to phase two. We're just saying that we're sort of telling you that a lot of the other 8 that you've seen, they haven't discovered it yet, or if they haven't told you. But in phase two, they're going to discover they have a problem.
And I don't want to, I know we have a half an hour left in our allotted time. But I guess I want to ask a question back to the city leaders and to you, Charlie. When the calculation took place that came up with about 40 million, give or take, 37 to 41, that was the conservative estimate. And how many years is this tax?
The tax is for 25 years.
Can you share how the estimate was calculated then? Was it 25 years? Was there a conservative and a middle of the road? these are, to me, these are important given this information and us thinking about all 9 of these proposals.
Yeah, I can tell you that they were pretty conservative. They actually, Baker Tilly's the name of the company that did this work for the city. You're probably familiar with them. They came in super conservative. So they came up with that 37 to 41 million, but they only based it on 20 years instead of 25 years, which the reason they gave was that you save interest, right? But you don't get as robust a billing program that way. So that will be discussed as we're going forward. Someone will have to convince me that we shouldn't use the full 25 years, but we weren't at that point yet. So we went in with a conservative number, yes, but it is 25 years. We hope we see some growth. Obviously, everyone here, Charlie knows this as well as anyone, the market, the tourism market is dropping now for any number of different reasons, including, headwinds against international visits. Every day seems like they throw another one up, another roadblock. So that's, in our particular part of the country, Canadians are a big thing for us. Since February, that's been down. Canadian traffic across the border, just to the north of us, between here and Winnipeg, is down at least about 35% average. And there's no sign that that's going to improve. There are no reasons that it's being given to anyone why that should improve. It's partly tariffs, it's partly attitude. The 51st state thing was kind of is the thing that hurt it the most, in my estimation, based on the people I've talked to. So they're angry at us. So that's probably going to hold in the 35 to 40% down range all this year, and who knows what will happen next. Other international traffic, we don't depend on that much, but that's also dropping nationwide. So we feel we're going to be pretty flat at best going forward. So we based this on a penny on the lodging tax. Most recently has earned about $1.1 million a year. And so we're looking at $3 to $3.4 million a year in revenue, and that's what Baker Tilly used. But again, they put it on a 20-year basis. Who knows what the interest rates will be like when that happens? So we came in conservative. We're hoping we'd probably get closer to 45, maybe. If you take it out to, I forget what it said, what he told us, if we took it out to 25 years, it would add several $1 million to the pot. But yeah, we know it's tight. There's no question about that. Everybody knows it's tight coming in. So we appreciate you, explaining that. Yes. Susan, this is Susan Thompson. She's the city finance director, and she can help
I can just
flesh out my memory on this.
A little bit of this. It's been a while since I looked at it as well. But our financial advisor looked at a 20-year and a 25-year model, and they had low growth and high growth. Low growth in the tax rate was 1 to 2%. High growth was 1 to 3%. So that range is basically the 20-year low growth to the 25-year low growth. So there is a little bit of room, but when you look out 25 years, you don't want to be too optimistic because a little bit of interest rate can do a lot of swings. So we were looking at that 1 to 2% growth. Hospitality tax right now is exceeding sales tax, but we need to be careful because we're seeing negative sales tax trends the last few months. So as with any model, you want to be conservative, but that was the point.
Susan, could you give us the number for 25 years high growth, please?
It's not that significant. 25 years high growth, the bonding, the total project funding would be $44,475,000. So that 45 that Charlie talked about. This is out on the CVB website as well. So if you want to look at that.
Just if I could say real quickly, we're just want to provide some information that's realistic here, just so everybody's aware. But I think what it comes back to is this slide here that, the goal is to bring more conventions, larger conventions into Fargo. And what we can do with that square footage that we're providing in phase 1, we can handle 94% of the events that were in that HVS study. So I think we're still achieving this goal under budget and can still get where you need to go, with the opportunities for future expansion with the surrounding development of that land.
Much more immediate expansion because of the unique funding resources that can be generated from the site and the site area. So that's very practical.
You're primarily talking about TIF district. I saw TIFs, help me with CID, what is that?
Community Improvement District?
Yeah, and then a business, a TB, or a BID, a Business Improvement District.
That's right. Yeah. And, the real difference is hotel tax. I don't know if you have a food and beverage. So those are, usually hot buttons, but if we can do it in a sub-district that is much smaller, maybe this site alone, then those types of resources could be uniquely created for this site. And those are the types of ideas that I think we can bring to the table. If you're limited to the 3% or your $45 million, then we can work with that as well. That's the beauty of this plan, of the option, I think.
Commissioner Pepper?
Well, I just wanted to thank you for bringing this up, because we've had, all the presentations have been excellent, but this is the first time we've talked about this, and I think everybody on our group want to make a wise decision, and to have this as part of making a wise decision, to make sure that we aren't making inappropriate sizes and spending money on stuff that we can't afford, and maybe we'll have to delay some of this till the next expansion in 10 or 15 years. Maybe it's sooner than that. But so I just want to thank you, regardless of how the vote goes and all those things. This is excellent additional information. So thank you very much for doing that.
Claire?
Yeah, can you share a little bit more about the decision for the AC Marriott? It's a great flag, but it being a limited service versus a full service.
Yeah, we have worked with Marriott in the past, have a very good relationship with them. Think it would be a great high-end hotel to attach to the convention center. For the limited service, there would be a restaurant in there, but it would not be, working together with the convention center there. We think that with that entertainment district that we can provide, we'd put there'd be restaurants that are in walking distance, around this area here. So around the lakes, you walk out and you can go find, there will be three different restaurants.
And that would be part of phase one?
That would be, just the, phase one, while it's being built, we'd be working on getting, filling in as much of the commercial development, office, retail as possible. And then I imagine the residential would follow after that. Yeah.
Thanks.
So the city of Fargo owns land opposite on Lake Fargo. We own land on the other side. I'm presuming that part of your cost is cost of land. If you built it on that, could your model be even bigger? So you've got a 36 million. So if you're building it on our land, does that give me a bigger convention center?
Yeah, potentially. You would have less.
But I mean, the same thing would happen is that you would also be putting your hotel and other things on that land that would be taxable or help us out. So to me, it might be a better win for us if we own the land and you build on our land, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that would probably be a phase two discussion as we get into that, but, we'd be open.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, other questions? All right.
Charlie, can I make one comment?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I know this may be different information that you guys have heard, but if there's more money like the grant opportunity or the financing shows $45 million, obviously more money means more program. And we haven't designed and fully costed the building, that's phase two, but based upon historical data, and I've watched all the other presentations, and some of the presentations said they expect the cost to be between $600 and $900 a square foot. These are not cheap buildings to build, and I think we're using a good number at $500 a square foot. We're just trying to illustrate the math that's associated with the size of the building you're trying to build.
So how much of that the mayor brought up land acquisition costs, so how much of that $500 per square foot, can you tell what a percentage of that is for land?
That's construction cost.
Just construction costs?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? So one of the gentlemen talked about the Alaris, and that just made me think about naming rights. And so is that something that potentially could, and obviously that would increase the potential size of the building. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Alaris Center, initially we had another name that we were kind of tossing around, but then we were able to find the sponsorship opportunity and get that established with for Alaris Center. We do find that that is a significant value to the facility. We intentionally called it Lakeside Convention Center because the term Lakeside Convention Center, you can still kind of throw any name before that, and rather than Lake Fargo or something like that. But what we do find is that that can add significant value and funding for the into the entire operation.
And that is not in our P&L yet.
Okay, anyone else?
Just real quick before we finish up here, we do have a website that we put together here that has just a lot of the design information and the team information. So there's a QR code here. I will also send this out to everybody's email just so you can come back and look at it later. So thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, no more questions. Thank you very much. We appreciate the proposal, and we appreciate your calculations for us. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've met before. I've heard you speak at conferences, so it's great to see you again.
So let's invite Tanner as quickly as possible so that we can get this done, the demo.
Okay. So Tanner, are you here? You want to come up and have a seat? I know that there are a couple Tanners in the room. That's the one we want. We're going to talk a little bit about our next steps here. So Jim is passing out a few things for us. Thanks again, guys. And thanks to all of the people who gave us these terrific 9 different presentations. We're going to get down to the nitty-gritty now in the next 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Charlie, good to see you again. Take care. Thanks for coming. Okay, do you need to work your computer over there, Tanner?
Yeah.
Okay.
It works out being
Okay.
here.
Yeah, it's fine. We can turn around and look at you. Okay, sorry. So we've asked Tanner to take us through the scoring process here because in the next 2 weeks, we're not going to meet next week, and then we'll come back 2 weeks from today, so it'll be the 19th, and we will, in between that time, I think we want you to have this done by the 17th is what we were talking about, but close of business, 17th, the Wednesday, so it gets into the system, so you have like a week and a half to go through the proposals. Obviously, they're all online if you want to go back and look at them. And, of course, you have your notes. And we hope that you will do your scoring diligently for each individual project. And then we will see the average when we come out on the end. So take it away, Tanner. Tell us how this is going to work, what we do.
All right. So I'm Tanner, the finance department here, purchasing manager at the city of Fargo. I'm here to help you guys facilitate this evaluation. Provided to you guys is a kind of a quick overview of the instructions, along with a paper copy of everything that's going to be you guys are going to see here today. Sometimes it's easier to fill those out at your convenience than when you log into Bonfire, take all your notes and take all your scoring and just upload it into Bonfire at one time. So when you guys log in, I think all you guys have been logged in here to Bonfire to see this project. When you guys log into Bonfire, you guys are going to see the convention center right here. It's going to open up your project. Here's all the files that we had, the requested information. Down here is the submissions. Like Charlie said, if you guys want to reopen it back up, any of the documents that were provided to the nine convention center options, it's all right in here. Open them up. You can review them again. Once you're ready to hit the scoring, on the right side, there's a scorecard. You guys will click that.
Tanner, can I pause you for just 1 second? Will Brian be sharing all of the PowerPoints that we've seen over the last 3 weeks in those as a document as well?
I can work with Brian and see if we can get them uploaded in there.
Okay.
I know they're all saved on YouTube and Facebook too. So
Sure.
you can work with Brian and make sure you guys see those or have access to those as well. Within this scorecard, you guys are going to go through you guys' predetermined criteria that was in the RFP that Jim has worked with you guys to figure out what was needed. You guys will just pop into the scoring, and it's already pre-weighted, so you guys will have a scoring of 0 to 5, and it'll already auto-calculate the weight of that scoring criteria. It was 0 to 5, your primary reason for that score, and then any specifics, whether it's a low score, high score, because we can take all those comments. If you guys have a 5 or a 1, it kind of narrows down why you guys selected that for the vendors.
Tanner, can I ask you a question? So it says primary reason for your score. Do you have to put a comment in those?
Yeah, so there'll be, once you select one, there's auto-populates kind of what you guys are thinking. And then your comments can be as little as it meets criteria, if it's a 2, 3, or 4. But if it's a 1 or 5, explaining why you chose a low score or a really high score. You'll save that score, and it'll go back to the rest of them, and you can work your way down each vendor. Once you get done with that vendor, then you'll go to the next one, that Delta, then Architects, Enclave, so on and so on. Any questions from you guys?
Okay, so once can you go back to that scoring sheet again? So you don't have to, when you're all done, does it ask you to save or submit? Or it just stays there when
it'll, on each scoring right here.
Yeah.
So you'll save score.
Okay.
And then it'll
on each one?
Yep, correct.
But then it is saved?
Yep. Okay. And you could do, two vendors and hop out, and tomorrow do additional 2 vendors or.
Are you going to be available for personal tutoring? Because
Yes.
I'm feeling this isn't going to go well.
Yeah. We've got 104 people in this that use this quite often. It's a lot more user-friendly than it looks right now. Once you get in there and start pushing around, it is pretty intuitive.
I don't think it's too daunting. One other question I have, can you go back in if you and change your score?
Scoring, yep. Up until the deadline of the 17th.
Just don't do it after, Wednesday the 17th.
Yep.
Right.
So
Charlie, I like your optimism because I don't think you know what you're dealing with. But
I don't. I'm going in happy. It's going to be great.
Charlie, I think related to that, one of the things that crosses my mind is after the scoring's done and we have continued conversations on certain areas, that may inform me. Dave says something that I wasn't thinking about related to a criteria that would have me go, ooh, I didn't consider that, or I wasn't even thinking about it in that way. Is there going to be a sort of, based on our first scoring and based on the conversation, an opportunity to reassess? I know not forever, but how do we handle that?
Well, I've been telling people in my head, and this is the way I see it, I figure we're going to take 2 weeks to discuss this. We haven't talked about the possibility. We haven't really considered the idea of going back and rescoring. I think once the scores are in, I think we want to see how it goes, at least at the first discussion. But I'm not necessarily, I don't think the committee should guarantee that however the scores stack up the first time through, that we're automatically going to cut it at the top 3. I think we need to have discussion based on the scores and the comments that come in.
Right.
And we're going to make, whether we go back and score it again or not, I think we need to leave ourselves the flexibility to have the discussion, which starts with the scoring. We'll start with the scoring.
Right.
And then have a discussion about why some rose above the others, and then we can take a vote based on what we think the top 3 or 4, wherever we hopefully it'll be 3 that we advance, and they won't necessarily. I don't think they necessarily will be automatically the top 3 scores. Is what I'm saying. I think there's going to be we need to have room for discussion, because we're going to see things, as Joe mentioned, in the comments that other people make, that will make us, maybe rethink some things. Mayor?
Well, we've done a lot of this by new candidates, Charlie. I think sometimes you'll be surprised the scoring. The group sometimes is really brilliant, and they kind of figure it out. They sometimes level out. You may see 5 ones that are clearly on the top. So sometimes it'll be simple. It'll be very complex if they're all the same, right? That would be the complexity. But I think the reality is that we can make our comments, and that's after the scoring. Really, that's when we get back into discussion and argue amongst ourselves. It may have been something Joe didn't hear right, and he thinks something bad about a builder, and say, no, Joe, they didn't say that, and it clarifies it. I think when we finally see the scoring, that'll be good. And then when we see our consultant scoring, we may be made aware of things we weren't aware of. I think to Dave's point today, it was interesting. They showed phase 1, phase 2 with this last presenter on the costs. And it's what we all believe the actual costs are going to be, 500, 600, 800, what is the size of that first thing? I think we have heard from a couple developers there'll be a phase 1, phase 2. And it's kind of like we saw St. Cloud, they had one edition, they added another edition. Charlie won't be here to get the funding for the next phase, but I think the scoring will tell us a lot. So.
Oh, for sure. The scoring is the base. And by the way, HVS is in the process of scoring, and we will, but we don't want to see their scoring until you've done yours. So, not that I don't trust you to do it all on your own, but we don't think that should be an influence. But we want to, after our average scores are in, then we're going to compare their scoring too, and see what they determine. So yeah, I envision discussion before we, not necessarily raw scores. That's where we start. Everybody okay with that? Anybody have any other questions for Tanner? Oh, Jim has a comment.
Yeah, I don't have any questions with Tanner, but I wanted to, with Eric, briefly address the property tax incentives and when it's realistic to use and when it's not. So if there's no other questions on scoring, I could talk about that.
Any other questions for Tanner? If you can stick around for a few minutes, something might come up. But okay, so you want to go ahead, Jim?
Yeah, there's several of the proposals have talked about the possible use of tax increment financing and pilot. What the pilot is, it's a payment in lieu of taxes where you can give set someone's property taxes at a lower rate for up to 20 years. In order to use tax increment financing in North Dakota, generally it needs to be an area that's underdeveloped because maybe it doesn't have a power line or there's some impediment, or it needs to be blighted. And of all these 9 proposals, I think the 2 that have the potential to use TIF would be the Savers site and the Bruhala site, because in that area you truly have some deterioration where you could create a TIF district. I mean, that building, I think you'd have a hard time calling it blighted, but that would really be up to the city commission. As far as the payment in lieu of taxes, if a developer said, if you give me a lower tax rate on my hotel, I can then build meeting rooms that enhance your convention center. So really in all the sites, there could be a financial incentive given for like the hotel, the private sector portion of the development. But I just want to make that clear if that's a factor in your scoring, where it might work and where it might not, and what type of incentive can work in different projects.
So Jim, based on the criteria we have here, how does the idea of tax increment financing play into our scoring? Like the development around the area outside of the actual convention center. How do you or others view even looking at that?
I mean, if you if you thought it would bring an extra benefit to an area, then you may score that a little bit higher if you saw the potential for additional revenue because of adjacent development with the TIF district.
Is that one of the criteria we're scoring here? That's my question. Can you show me where that is?
We'll have to look.
It talks about need for an incentives, and so if you thought that, I don't know if you consider that a negative or a positive. That's probably a philosophical question.
That's my point. It's to me, it's one of the primary questions I think we need to understand is, are we going to score because we're using TIF to add more tax value in an area, or are we just looking at it as the convention center and the value of that?
I guess how I'd look at it would be as if it's a site that can bring you more revenue because of potential for growth for the TIF district, then that would probably score a little bit higher. Not everyone might agree with that, but that's how I viewed it.
But you're also saying the pilot's really not a mechanism here around that. It's more of the two TIF.
The pilot might, if you could extract something from the developer. One other point, the downtown site is already in a TIF district, and so there is potential revenue already on the table for there. I don't think the developer asked for any, but that would be available to enhance the project.
So to clarify, there are some of the projects would probably not be eligible for a TIF district?
I think the only are the downtown is in a district, Ruhala would, and I think Savers would. The others, I don't think would quite make the cut, but that's still up to the city commission. But it's hard to look at this last proposal and say that's an underdeveloped site when there's all the infrastructure there. There's no blight, at least under North Dakota law. Other states may allow you to do a TIF district there.
And Eric, you talked about the PPP ordinance, and there could be some help with financing if the city helped finance the private part of it and struck a deal to get repaid for that, better interest rates. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I think what my comment about there's a possibility that the city could participate in financing, again, all subject to city commission approval. Finance office would need to be on board as part of it as well. But again, this all comes from the urban renewal statute, which is the TIF law, is North Dakota's urban renewal statute. And that's an example where any project that is authorized under urban renewal gives rise to general obligation bond funding, which is usually a favorable interest rate. And in theory, the entire project under the P3 law, a different statute, authorizes the entire project to be, to shift responsibilities and risks and so forth between the public entity and the private entity. And so one of those issues is that the public entity theoretically could finance the entire project, enter into some kind of sophisticated lease buyback arrangement. Typically those things work that way, where the private developer ends up owning the airport for 50 years, responsible for handing it over in good shape after 50 years, but takes all the risk of running the airport. It's just a unrelated example just to prove the point. That kind of thing. So those kind of arrangements can be pretty sophisticated under P3 law, perfectly authorized under our state statute. It's a fairly broadly worded statute. And so, in theory, that's a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just add a little finer point, just because I see a little confusion about what's TIF and what's not. So there are kind of two categories of projects that give rise to tax increment capture and use of that captured increment of tax money toward either public aspects of the project and sometimes the private side. One, and the age-old urban renewal is age-old urban renewal, right? Blighted area, downtowns, old buildings that are falling down, and we need to acquire property, that's demolished and then rebuild it somehow and undertake all kinds of things. Again, this brings to mind borrowing and all that. So that's the traditional blighted property or slum and urban renewal. There's a newer thing that came about once the federal funding went away for urban renewal. Then we states tried to figure out ways to fund themselves. And that added in North Dakota this idea that not everything is blighted, especially in North Dakota. We don't have 200-year-old cities, but we do have property that ends up being underdeveloped or underutilized for some reason. And the easiest example that comes to mind is that Doolittle's Triangle where the Goldmark buildings went in. Sat there surrounded by development for a long time. Why? Well, it happened to have a pipeline under it that made development difficult, and that just was a need for about $1 million of a cost that needed to be paid for somehow. And so, but that fit because it was underutilized industrial or commercial property. So that's the buzzword: underutilized industrial commercial property. So what Jim was kind of saying about this project that's on 52nd Avenue South, not exactly, hasn't been sitting there surrounded by development or underutilized for some particular reason for a long time. I mean, it's fairly fresh. Probably it's all subject to city commission decision, but doesn't seem to pass the smell test, maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, it's after 3 o'clock. We have our work cut out for us. We'll do the scoring and come back in 2 weeks and start the robust discussion about all of these things. I think it's great to get this out on the table, but I think it's going to become more of a factor, and we're going to get into those things much further once we see how the scoring comes out. So, okay.
Can I just add a logistic?
Okay.
Really fast. I just want to ask Tanner, can we call you or email you if there are questions about Bonfire? Okay. I just quickly logged in on my computer, and we don't even see all the projects. It goes directly to the convention center project. So you'll see all of the 9 bids as the first slide. So it's not like you have to dig for it. Shouldn't be too hard. Yeah. So good luck.
That's the easy part. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the 2 weeks.